Welcome to another episode of Mr. Plumb's Thoughts. Sorry about the delay in the videos here. It's been a couple of weeks. I just had finals week here at school and a recital, so I've been busy creating final lessons and grading exams and whatnot. It takes a lot of time, so I apologize. Today, though, I want to talk about temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and what happens in them. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of accusations that we're a cult and that we do all these weird things in the temple, but it's really not that weird. Everything we do is symbolic. There's no child sacrifices going on in the back rooms or anything like that. It's really just peaceful and simple stuff that we do. And so I'm going to walk you through it all. I'm going to walk you through the whole process from beginning to end, kind of tell you about all the different rooms in the temple, all the different work that we can do. And of course, there are some sacred things that we covenant to not reveal outside of the temple. And so I won't go into the sacred things. But that being said, it's really not a secret. I mean, people have posted even the sacred stuff online. You're welcome to go look for it and find it. It's all on there. It's really not that weird. It's just stuff we've covenanted to not talk about. And so we'll go into as much detail as I can, and hopefully dispel some rumors about our temple and kind of give you the reason of why we do it. So first I want to start, I was recently called as a temple and family history consultant, and we've been pushing out this new program where basically we've been showing people how easy it is to actually go and print names off to take to the temple. And it's super easy. You just go to familysearch.org. And if you already have a church account, if you don't have a church account, that's step one. Go to churchofjesuschrist.org, sign up for an account. If you're a member, you get a free familysearch.org account. So once you have your church account, go to Family Search. If you haven't created an account there yet, create one using your church account. If not, if you already have, then just sign in. As soon as you sign in, just right there on the front page, right on the left, there's this big old thing that just says Ordinance Ready. And you click on that and you just select if you're a male or a female, and then you select the ordinances that you're going to go do, whether it's endowment, initiatories, baptisms, etc. And you just select it, you click next, and it'll just automatically find a name for you, and then you just print the name right there and take the name with you. It will use your own family names first, and if there's no work to be done in your family tree, then it will start pulling names from your ward family if you've joined your ward family and whatnot. So it's really cool. It makes it so we can kind of all help out and get the work done that needs to be done. And it's really simple, really easy to use. In fact, I'll probably make a video on how to do all this stuff as well. But for right now, it's super easy. Just go to familysearch.org, click Ordinance Ready, select the option, click print, boom, you got your name. Go to the temple. All right, so at the temple, before you even get inside the temple, first you walk onto the grounds. And the grounds are beautiful. They're peaceful. The second you step on the grounds, you can feel the Spirit. Sometimes I like to say the Spirit's basically preaching a silent sermon on temple grounds. And if you just go there and you just close your eyes and just listen, you'll have some amazing thoughts come to your mind. There's just beautiful trees, flowers, everything like that. And it's supposed to give the idea of the Garden of Eden. So you're supposed to be walking through this pre-fall state where just everything is beautiful. Now there's a legend I want to address here. A legend that says that evil spirits cannot actually step foot on temple grounds. I've looked everywhere to see if there's any official or authoritative statement on that. I haven't found anything. I even went and asked my temple president, and he just said, I think that's just a rumor. I've never heard anything official either. But he did tell me that he thinks it stems from an earlier story in the Restoration where there was a prophet, and he couldn't remember which one off the top of his head, and I didn't look this up either, just going based on what he told me. But there was a prophet that had mentioned that he saw Satan walking around the grounds of the temple, not on the grounds, but like around the outside of the grounds of the temple, looking for a way to get in, and he couldn't find a way to get in, and he was prevented from getting in. Whether or not that's where the legend originates, I can't really say. But I do know that even if that's true, even if it's true that Satan and his angels can't step foot on the grounds on their own, that doesn't mean that we can't bring them in, right? We have evil spirits inside of us all the time. We all have a little evil in us, no matter how perfect you think you are. And we take those with us everywhere we go. And we take those onto temple grounds. And you shouldn't be foolish enough to think that you'll never have an evil thought on temple grounds, because you will. I can testify you will. I have, right? And mostly for a thought experiment of, can I do this? And yes, you can. So obviously we can bring evil onto the grounds. So whether or not the spirits themselves can step on of their own accord, I don't think that really matters as much. But it is true that the grounds are dedicated by priesthood authority. And you can definitely, heaven is amplified. The veil is thin on temple grounds, and you really can hear those good thoughts a lot easier. So once you get inside, you go in the front door, and you're going to come up to a desk and a waiting room, usually a waiting room too. And you don't need to recommend to go in the front doors, or to, see the paintings that are in there and the waiting room and whatnot. But you will need to recommend if you're going to go beyond that front desk. And there's usually at least one person at the desk that you can show your recommend to go past. And I'll get more into kind of the specifics of everything that happens in the temple in a second. Right now, I just kind of want to tell you the structure, the layout first. So you go in, you've got a waiting room, you got the front desk. When you get through the front desk, there are locker rooms that you go to, and you change into all white. Everybody in the temple wears all white, and they all wear the same thing. And it kind of shows unity and shows that there's no rich or poor among us. If you had the prophet in there and he was right next to a nobody like me, we'd be wearing the same thing. And if you didn't know who the prophet was, you would just think it's just some random guy, right? Because we're all wearing the same thing. And so the locker rooms, there's got locker rooms you go to first, and then you would go to, depending on the ordinance you're doing is where you'll go after that. So you've got a baptismal font, if you're going to go do baptisms for the dead. We don't baptize the living in a temple, only the dead. Baptisms for the living are done in just regular baptismal fonts in stake centers or wherever. Heck, you can even get baptized in a river if you wanted to. There's really no requirement in that regard. So you have the baptismal font. You also have endowment rooms. The endowment, it goes through 3 different rooms. You start in the telestial room, and then you progress from there. And telestial represents Earth, where we're at is a telestial world. So then you progress from there into the terrestrial room, which is going to be a little bit brighter. The lights are a little bit brighter, a little wider. And then from there, you will progress into the celestial room, which is the brightest and whitest of all. And that's where you end. If you're going through doing an endowment, you'll finish at the celestial room, and then you can kind of hang out in there for a little while, just ponder and pray, read scriptures, whatever. Then in addition to the endowment rooms, there's also sealing rooms where you can get sealed to a companion for eternity. And those are the main areas in a temple. It's really not that many rooms. That's not that much. Of course, you do have other rooms in there. You've got a bride's chamber where the bride gets ready. I actually don't know if any temples have a cafeteria anymore. It used to be pretty common in temples. Most temples have removed their cafeterias. I don't know if there's actually any cafeterias left in temples. But that used to be really good. Like before there were temples everywhere. Right now we've got tons of temples everywhere, but it wasn't that way for a long time. And so you'd have to actually get in a car and go on a road trip or even fly to get to a temple. And so that's why a lot of the times they had these cafeterias, because you'd have like a whole busload of kids traveling across the whole state to go to a temple. And then they'd do their ordinances, their baptisms, and then they'd go and have a big old lunch in the cafeteria, and then everybody goes home. It was a great experience, but it doesn't really work that way anymore, because we have temples all over the place now. So yeah, I don't know if there's cafeterias. But yeah, there's other various rooms, closets, janitor's closets, things like that. And then there's one room that is only in the Salt Lake Temple, and it's the Holy of Holies, which is the place that the president of the church can go to speak directly with God. And it's the same as the Holy of Holies that was in the tabernacle, or the same one that was in Solomon's temple. They all had a Holy of Holies, and this was where God would actually descend and speak to the prophet. Now, we don't know a whole lot about the Holy of Holies. I've investigated it quite a bit and don't really have any solid conclusions on it. But I do suspect that, so it's a circular room with a dome-shaped ceiling, and I suspect that the materials that the walls and the dome and whatnot are made of are specifically designed to amplify spiritual communication. Basically make it so that the prophet can talk to God like I'm talking to you now, and he can hear God perfectly and clearly like one man talks to another. That's not doctrine. That's just my own research has led me to that conclusion. In fact, I believe it's one of the reasons why Joseph Smith experimented with lots of different stones for spiritual communication. He had a handful of seer stones, according to accounts. And I think that was because he was experimenting with them to see which ones amplified spiritual communication the best. So then he could use that knowledge to create a Holy of Holies. That's not written anywhere. That's just theory according to Mr. Plumb. Whether it's true or not ultimately doesn't matter. All right, so that's the basic rooms in a temple. So now when you go through a temple, it's going to be different depending on if you're going through for yourself or if you're going through for and in behalf of somebody who's dead. Most of the work we do in a temple is for the dead. But the very first time you will go through a temple will be for yourself. Now, we don't get baptized in a temple. Like I said, you only get baptized outside of the temple for the living. So if you're going through for yourself, you completely skip the baptismal font because you're already baptized. So the first place you would go if you're going through for yourself are initiatories. Did I mention initiatories in the rooms? I might have missed that one. There's also a room for initiatories if I did forget that one. So what the initiatories are is it's where we are anointed to become kings and queens and priests and priestesses to God forever in the future, if of course we live righteously enough to qualify for it. And it's also where we then receive a new name. Now, this name is one thing that we've covenanted to never reveal, so I'll never tell anybody my name. But everybody who goes through gets a name. And there's a little bit of speculation, not 100% certainty on what this name is for. Some people think that it's possibly the name that we had before we came to this earth, the name of our spirit, I guess you could say. There's others that think it's like a renaming kind of thing, like in the Bible you get, Abram's renamed to Abraham and so forth. And so some people say, well, this is your spiritual renaming. And that might be, I don't know the truth, but I suspect personally that the name represents the family that we will be resurrected into in the millennium. Not quite sure how to explain that really. But yeah, we're all going to get resurrected, but I don't think we'll all have the same family units we have here. I think what we're doing, because everyone from every generation is going to be resurrected, right? So we're all going to be on the earth at one time, and there has to be some way to sort us and organize us, keep us in a hierarchy type situation. And so me personally, I think that's what the name is. The name is basically the biblical patriarch who's going to be the father of your future family in the millennium. And I think it's also the person who will pull us through the veil to the other side. Again, this is just theory according to Mr. Plumb. I really don't know. Lots of theories on the name. But that you get that in the initiatories. And once you are done with the initiatories, you will then go through the endowment session. And again, I'm talking for yourself, not for the dead. Now, for the endowment session, what it basically is you sit in a room. So you begin in the celestial room, or the room that represents Earth, and you watch a video in that room. Some temples actually do live performances, which is really cool if you ever have a chance to go do that. But most temples just have a video that plays. And I think there's a few different videos they rotate through. So, you'll see the same video as you go through, but you'll see also kind of variations. But they all say the same thing, just different actors, kind of, just to give, I guess, uniqueness and randomness. So it's not all the same mundane thing every time you go. Anyway, this video, it covers the creation. It goes over the 7 days of creation, and then it goes over Adam in the garden, and the fall of Adam and Eve, and then being kicked out of the garden, and then it will show Peter, James, and John, who come and deliver additional instruction to Adam and Eve. And of course, this is symbolic. Peter, there's no record that Peter, James, and John actually went and visited Adam and Eve. So it's just kind of a symbolic representation, not of those three specifically, but of messengers in general, that God has continually sent messengers to us to deliver, additional news and messages and things like that. And so Peter, James, and John will come, and they will be instructed by God to give Adam and Eve a apron to cover their nakedness, right? So then in the ceremony, the video will pause, and then everyone that's in there, like I said, we're all in white at this point, but we have a little pouch with our ceremonial items in it. And so one of those is a green, it's supposed to represent a leaf, basically, right? It's just a green apron that you put on. And so the video pauses and says, everyone put on your apron. This represents, you being naked in the garden and whatnot. So everyone puts on their apron. And then Peter, James, John go and report. And then they come back later. And, the whole time Satan's involved too. And Satan's trying to tempt Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve stands true to their covenants, things like that. So then Peter, James, and John are instructed by God to come back and clothe Adam and Eve in the garment of the holy priesthood, or the robes of the holy priesthood. So then they come back and they clothe Adam and Eve, and then the video pauses, and then we all do the same. We pull our robes out, because we symbolically, when we're sitting in an endowment, we symbolically represent Adam or Eve if you're a woman. So we're basically doing everything that Adam does. So as Adam puts on his robes of the priesthood, the video pauses, and then we all put our robes on, and then re-put the apron on and whatnot. So by the time of the endowment's done, everybody is in this ceremonial garb, basically, this robe with a green sash on it and a little hat on it and a little bow tie and things like that. And again, it's just all symbolic. So as you're going through this, the session will take you through, at one point they'll have you actually stand up and then move into the next room, into the terrestrial room. So then you get into the terrestrial room and you do a few more kind of things, watch a little more of the video, do a few more things. Now in the terrestrial room, before you go into the celestial room, there's a veil. It's just a white curtain that hangs down. And it has symbols on it, the same symbols that we have on our garments that we wear underneath our clothes. And we basically, we're given instruction through this video of what to do when we get up to this veil. So when the session's basically done, all the patrons one at a time will go up to this veil. And as they get up to the veil, they have to give the person on the other side of the veil their signs and their tokens that they learned, which are sacred, which I won't reveal to you. But you learn them, you give your signs and your tokens, and then once you've given them all, then the patron on the other side says, that is correct, and then welcomes you. That patron will then grabs your hand and pulls you through the veil to the other side, and that's how you end up in the celestial room on the celestial side. And so that's basically the whole endowment ceremony. It's nothing fancy, it's nothing crazy, it's really nothing cult-like, and it's all voluntary. Multiple times throughout there, they're like, if you do not wish to proceed, you're free to get up now and leave, right? Nothing's forced ever in the restored gospel. Everything is voluntary. So yeah, you get through to the celestial room, and then most people will just kind of hang out in there because it's peaceful for a little bit. I'm usually one of the longest people in there because I'll grab a Bible or Book of Mormon and just read, and I'll spend 30 minutes to an hour sometimes in there just reading, where I know I'm getting good, strong messages from God, with that thin veil. And then when I feel like I'm done, I get up and I leave. I go to the locker room, change into my normal clothes, and then I'm out of there. So that's a typical session for an endowment session, is you just go through all those things and then you're done. Now you might also go to a sealing room. If you're doing all of this as part of your wedding as well, then once you get through the endowment ceremony, then you'll actually go, instead of going into the celestial room, you'll go into sealing rooms. A lot of temples, actually, the sealing rooms are connected to the celestial room, so it makes sense. But some of the smaller temples, the sealing rooms are just kind of off on hallways, not directly connected. So in a sealing room, there's an altar in the middle, and you and your companion would go and take a knee on each side of the altar, and then the person there, reads, typical marriage kind of vows and stuff, and then that's it, and you're done. Again, nothing crazy in there. So that's pretty much the whole temple. If you're going through, as for going through for yourself, if you're going through now for somebody who's dead, there's a different process. Well, same things have to be done, but you're not going to necessarily do them all in one go. You could take a name into the temple, baptize them, initiate them, go through endowment, go through sealing. You could. That's just typically not what happens. Usually what happens is the youth will come in and do baptisms for the dead. So they'll have a whole list of hundreds of names, dozens to hundreds of names, and they'll go and they'll just do all those names at once. They just, you get dunked for one person and come up, then they read the script for the next person, you get dunked for that person, read the script for the next one, dunked, and you just keep on going and going and going until you're done. Then they take all those names into another room and confirm them. The confirmation confirms them members of the church and gives them the Holy Ghost. So once the youth have done that, or adults, you can do baptisms if you're an adult too, but typically it's the youth. Once they've done all that, it creates this big pool of names that need to have additional work done. So if you want to do initiatories, for example, you would schedule an appointment to do initiatories, and you go in and they just have a list of a whole bunch of names, and you just keep on doing them. You'll do, maybe a dozen or so names, and then that's it. And then you're done, you leave. And that creates another pool of people that are all now ready for their endowment. The endowment is the longest process. It takes about an hour per person. You can't do them in bulk like we do baptisms and initiatories. It's just one at a time. So most of the time when you hear somebody saying they're going to the temple, it's them going to do an endowment session for somebody who's dead, most of the time. And so that's also our biggest need, because it's so slow for each one. That's when we're hammering like, hey, we need more temple work. That's primarily what we need, are more people getting in doing endowments. And then, of course, sealings for the dead are only if they were married, which not every dead person was married. I'm not sure if they can actually get sealed. There has to be a sealing if they're dead as well. Just being sealed into the family of God. I'm not quite sure how that all works. I honestly don't do a lot of sealings. Usually when I go, it's for endowments. Sometimes I'll go with the youth and do baptisms as well, but I don't do initiatories and sealings as much as I probably should. I should probably do that so I can know a little bit more and be able to teach a little bit more. But that's basically the whole temple for you guys. One thing that's really cool, in every temple somewhere, you're going to find forever mirrors, which are basically just two massive mirrors on opposite sides of a room, and you stand right in the middle of it. so you can see the mirrors going forever. And the idea is that you are at the center of eternity, right? That eternity spans forever all around you. Most temples have these in the baptismal fonts, so youth get to see them a lot. And a lot of them have them also in the celestial room. I've seen a couple where they were in sealing rooms as well. Probably not as often in sealing rooms. But the temple is definitely a beautiful place. It's not cult-like. Like, I don't know why people think that. I had my sister went through. She went through when she got married, and she hasn't been through again just because she thinks it's weird, and that's totally fine. Maybe it's not for everyone, but I really don't think it's that weird. It's if you understand everything is symbolic, then everything kind of just makes sense. And there's lots of things that I don't know that I want to know. Like, where are these spirits when we're going through for them? I used to have this idea that they were just filling the room we were in. That, this person I'm going through is maybe standing over beside me. Now I think maybe actually they're inside of us. Just like we can bring the evil spirits in, we also bring the good spirits in, and our ancestors and whatnot. And I think they actually might be inside of us. But I don't know. It's all speculation. I wish I knew all these things. And this is the kind of stuff I research and dig into all the time to try to know these things a little bit better. But there are some things we just don't have answers to. And quite frankly, there's a lot of things in the temple that we don't have answers to. And I'm just reminded of Adam, who was giving sacrifices on the altar, and the angel came and said, "Why are you doing this?" And Adam said, "I don't know. But I was told to." All right. And I feel like it's the same way with the temple and a lot of other things. We do these things because we're told to, and we have kind of an idea of what we're doing and why we're doing it, but we don't really fully understand. And I guarantee it's way deeper than we understand. Anyway, so I hope this helped you understand. If you're not a member of the church, I hope this helped you kind of see that it's really not that weird. And it's, we invite everyone to become members and come into the temple and find out for yourself. You'll never know unless you experiment for yourself. And, I like to tell people, you can come and get baptized just to see if it's true, right? Like, you don't need to know it's true before you get baptized. Jesus wants us to walk the walk, and then he'll prove it to us, right? We receive no witness until after the trial of our faith. And so my challenge to people is just do it. Just come get baptized. Like, it's not a cult. We're not going to keep you here. If at the end of the day you're like, I feel like I was lied to and this isn't what I was told, you can leave. You can have your records removed. Like, and if we're wrong about everything, if we're delusional and this is all fiction, then whatever. It's still making good people, and we're still doing good things. Like, I remember there was a big case where a whole bunch of Jews got mad because there were some members that started doing baptisms for the dead for Holocaust survivors. Holocaust victims. And of course, personally, I don't think they should have. I mean, that's not their family, but I can see that they probably had good intentions. They just didn't fully understand, these things. But to me, I'm like, why does it matter? Like, why are you getting mad if we baptize your ancestor for the dead? If you don't believe that our religion's true, then literally we're doing nothing, right? We're wasting our time, wasting our breath. We're not, so I just don't get the angle that people take with their attacks sometimes. But anyway, this is now the longest video I've ever made. So yeah, I'm getting up to 30 minutes here. I better probably stop. Anyway, I hope that this helped you kind of understand the temple. It's not crazy. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And, these videos have just very slowly been increasing in viewers and whatnot. And so it's definitely a lot of work to get popular. But I hope to keep doing these, and I hope they get spread out. So don't forget to hit that like and share button and get this out to your friends, especially people who maybe try to say that the temple is a cult or whatever. Send this to them and be like, you don't know what you're talking about, okay? This stuff is just, I don't know what to say. Anyway, I want to definitely thank God for helping me with these understandings too, so I can bring them to you guys in ways that are hopefully clean and understandable. And if there's any topics you want me to dig into, let me know in the comments. I was just asked to give a talk on... Oh, sorry for the cut here. I actually wasn't aware that this app I'm recording with only records up to 30 minutes, so it cut me off at 30 minutes. But I was wrapping up at the end anyway, just thanking God for all he does. And I just got asked to give a talk on finding gratitude through the gospel of Jesus Christ this Sunday. So I'll probably be making a video on that as well. So I hope to be doing these for a long time to come, and I'll see you guys around.